How do you call yourself out on speaking the truth, living the truth, being the truth?
I have so many amazing friends. Like Elle, I mentioned before, but like Brad and Harry, Matt Choi, Talia. Like I have the best people around me, and they're just they hold me to a standard for myself that is sometimes higher than I hold for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been the most tremendous thing for my growth. And in a world where most people don't say they have a close friend, I don't know the stats on it, but it's remarkable how few people, right, are actually friends and connected. I have the best friends in the world. And I have the best friends in the world because I showed up for myself time and time again. I showed up for myself on the podcast when I didn't have any close friends that I could connect to on a deep level. I just put out on Twitter, who wants to talk on the phone? And then did that over and over and over and over again to the point I showed up for myself so many times in a row that people knew that I could show up for myself. Thus, I was dependable. Thus, I want to be your friend, right?
Yep.
Those people don't want to be my friend because I've had on amazing podcast guests. They want to be my friend because I showed up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've shown that I can do that. And so that's what we all have, the power to show up for ourselves. And that's what people want to be friends with, people who show up for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's just something very real about it, right? And everybody's craving real authenticity. And the best way of expressing authenticity is to show up for yourself and, do the thing that only you could do, right? There's nobody else that could do the Danny Miranda podcast like Danny Miranda could do it. Right. Now, other people can be really good at what they do, but you can only be the second best Joe Rogan in the world, but you can be the best version of you. And I think that that's something that's very important to lean into. And when you do lean into that, you start to attract those kinds of people. Because one of the things, you said I've got really good friends. And I think a lot of people, when they're on a self-growth journey, they kind of go through a lonely chapter, if you will, where they start to maybe outgrow some of their old friends. They realize that maybe they weren't that good friends. They're acquaintances, they love the boys and they're loyal to them and all of that stuff. But it's like, man, at this point, we're just kind of doing this. And then in that desert, if you will, there's this loneliness chapter. What advice would you give to people that are currently feeling like they're in that chapter? How would they go about trying to call in the right people? What are some of the tips you'd give somebody to try and call in the right kind of friends that are going to hold them to that standard for themselves?
Yeah, it's interesting to reverse engineer because I never actually set out to have amazing friends. I never put that on a vision board or anything, which is interesting because that is the thing that gives so much fulfillment to life.
Right.
But if I were to reverse engineer, I would say, how can you be okay with being lonely? How can you be okay with being alone, right? There's loneliness and there's being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two different things, lonely versus being alone. And I was always comfortable and still am comfortable being alone, being by myself, because I enjoy my own company. And if you start to enjoy your own company, then other people start to enjoy your company too. So the question becomes, how can you enjoy your own company, right? What are ways in which you would enjoy doing the thing that you're doing? I like running. I like lifting weights. I like reading. I like meditating. Those are things that I enjoy doing. You might not like that, right? I was actually giving this advice to one of my coaching clients where I was like, okay, tell me about your ideal friend. And he's like, someone who's spontaneous and somebody who laughs a lot. It's like, okay, great. Then stop meditating and stop working out so hard if you want a spontaneous friend who laughs a lot, right? The advice isn't necessarily to do the things that you know you should do because you saw them on Instagram. The advice is do the thing that you enjoy. Because if you like laughing a lot and you like being spontaneous, go to the Grand Canyon right now. You're going to find other people who also enjoy going to the Grand Canyon. And then you want to be funny or laugh a lot. If that's really important to you, go to a comedy show or go to a comedy class or start learning how to be funnier within yourself and get so funny that you can make yourself laugh. That's the advice. The advice isn't to just do the thing that is so obvious, that the 75 Hard program, it's like, I love the 75 Hard program. I'm on it right now, but it's not necessarily going to be for everyone.
Yeah. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.